All right, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started here. I know people are still joining in, it looks like, but again, want to thank everybody for popping in tonight and to join us. Hopefully, I know it's busy time right now for everybody, and especially those of you that are hosting basketball games tonight as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just a quick reminder: we are recording this, so we will post this on both associations' websites sometime probably tomorrow morning. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. Got Madison Melchett here from the Girls Athletic Union and Chad Ellsbury, and then also want to say hi to Mick Hackbarth from Cadillac Lanes. And we'll go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that a lot. Hello, everybody. Chad Ellsbury again from the Athletic Association with the boys' side of things, and we're kind of going to start off tonight by just going through the packet of information. And then as we make our way through the meeting tonight, if you have a question, please send it along via the Q&A, depending upon how many we receive and the type of question. We'll either try to answer those at the end with a little Q&A, or if we need to do a little bit of research and get back to you on that, we'll get back to the entire group on the email list for both coaches and ADs for the individual and state tournaments. Just a reminder once again that the individual tournament will be the same as last year at Maple Lanes, and the team tournaments will be at Cadillac XBC in Waterloo as well. There is a change though this year with regard to entrance for the individual tournament. We had some seating capacity issues last year. We actually had more attendees at the individual tournaments last year than we had at the team tournaments. We did not anticipate that, but in order to accommodate that type of crowd, we do have to limit capacity or cap capacity at the individual tournament with Maple Lanes. So with that being said, teams will not be given free entrance into the individual tournament even if a school has both a team and an individual qualify. That is no different than what we do with wrestling, for example. I'm in Des Moines at the moment at the state wrestling tournament that we have going on for the next 4 days. And just because you were a dual team 2 weeks ago doesn't mean your entire team gets into the state wrestling tournament. So individuals who are not participants would have to purchase a ticket. There will be a limited number of tickets available. We sent codes out to your ADs earlier today, and then those codes, 4 per participant for the individual side. Those codes that go unused will then be open to the public as of noon on Saturday. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this at the meeting tonight. Individual coaches with 1 bowler are allowed 1 coach's pass per gender. So if you're a school and you have both a boy and a girl, for example, in the individual tournament, you would be allowed a total of 2 coaches passes to be able to coach both of those athletes. Once again, the tournaments are at Cadillac and Maple Lanes. There's also some information about practicing either Sunday night, Monday, or Tuesday night. And that is also in this document that was emailed to you. If you do not have this document, please reach out to Madison and I so we can get it to you. Once again, a reminder, we're keeping the same rotation as last year. So the next Monday, the 20th, the 3A individual will be at, 3A will do individual, 1A will do team on Tuesday, 1A individual, 2A team, and on Wednesday, 2A individual and 3A team, same time schedule. Competition each day starts at 9 a.m. And I'll let Madison talk a little bit more about when teams should arrive and individuals arrive, and then when spectators will be allowed in.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. Sorry, everybody. I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit tonight, so bear with me here on this. But yes, like Chad mentioned, we'll do a rotating 3-day schedule here. So February 20th, 21st, and 22nd are dates. All of them will start at 9 a.m. So Monday we'll start with 3A individual and 1A team. Tuesday will be 1A individual and 2A team, and Wednesday will be 2A individual and 3A team. So the start time again is 9 a.m. for all sites, all days. Participants are able to arrive at 7:30 a.m. to both sites at Maple and Cadillac for the individual and team sites there, spectators will be allowed to enter 1 hour prior to competition, which is 8 a.m. Tickets for both individual and team sites will be on hometown ticketing via the Boys Association website. So if you follow that link there in the document that you have, it'll take you to those ticket links, and those will again go for sale here tomorrow with the codes and teams for those team tickets as well. Individual tournament at Maple Lanes. So again, we've restricted capacity at Maple Lanes. The IGHSAU and the IHSAA will be distributing 4 tickets per qualifier, and we'll be using passcodes for those tickets through hometown ticketing. So again, if you have not received your code yet, please reach out to Chad or I, and we can reach out to Jessica Morgan at the IHSAA, and she can help get that ticket code for you. And again, that's only for individuals.
And remember, those ticket codes were sent to your AD. So if as a coach, you would not have received those, your athletic director would have. So make sure you tap him or her on the shoulder if you need more information about that.
Yes. Again, tickets will go on sale tomorrow at 9 a.m. using the passcodes, and they will be available through Saturday, February 18th at 12 p.m. At that point in time, if available, all remaining tickets will open to the public for the individual tournament. So again, this is the individual tournament only that we're talking about here with the passcodes, and the general admittance, whatever is left over, will be going on sale on February 18th at 12 p.m. And again, please note that if you do not redeem your tickets by noon on Saturday, that those tickets will be released to the general public. So please make sure we get those codes from our ADs, and please make sure that we're getting those out to who they need to before that date, so they can go ahead and purchase their ticket and have that secured for them. Moving on to team tournament at Cadillac. So for this tournament, having increased facility capacity at Cadillac, tickets will be open to the public on Thursday, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Tickets again for both sites are $10 plus processing fees for both of the meets. There will be no cash sale at either location this year. So that's a change from last year. We will not be accepting any cash at either location. So please remind your people that they need to get those tickets purchased ahead of time. And also please remember that these are 2 separate tournaments. So if you have an individual and a team qualifier, that your fans do need to purchase 2 different tickets for that. So your individual ticket does not get you into the team tournament, and your team tournament ticket does not get you into the individual tournament. They are 2 separate tournaments. And so please remember to purchase as necessary there for those. Another thing that is different this year, if you have a qualifier on a team who wants to go watch the individual tournament because you have a qualifier there, they're not allowed to go and do that without a ticket. So again, 2 different tournaments. And so even though you qualify for the team tournament does not mean that you get admission into the individual tournament. So please have a plan for that, have tickets purchased, or bring the necessary staffing chaperones in order to make sure that everybody is taken care of in those situations.
Thanks, Madison. Once again, same facilities as last year, same general areas for storage. So for the daily schedule rundown, both the team and individual arrive, check in at Cadillac. Once again, that'll be in that middle door, and then we'll have a separate entrance door for the fans at Maple. As you arrive, we will do photos for both the boys qualifiers, both individual and team. At Maple, it's the restaurant side entrance that you'll be coming in, and we'll use that restaurant area for storage. We'll also use some of the storage area for those who've been there along the duck pin bowling alley over on the side. And then at Cadillac, once again, we'll use the same storage areas. There's a couple of rooms up top, and then there's a couple of rooms in the arcade gaming area that we'll use for storage, and they will be labeled so you know what areas your teams. Please keep in mind, these are not secured areas, i.e. under lock and key, but we've generally not had any issues with that. But just remember not to leave anything super valuable just laying around. As far as the assembly, we'll assemble for a brief meeting at both facilities about 8:35, kind of in the bag storage area. So at Maple, that would be in the restaurant for individuals. At Cadillac, that's kind of over in the arcade area. We will kind of do a little intro for the parade. We will then have the parade. We will introduce the bowlers at each lane, and then we will begin our pre-bracket play. And then after the pre-bracket play, we will then seed both sites as far as bracketing the 15 Baker games at the team site and the 3 individual games at the individual site. And then we'll begin bracket play. And it'll the general format. I'm not going to read the paragraph to you word for word, but once again, 8 teams will bowl 15 Baker games. We'll then get our seeds 1 through 8. We will have a predetermined lanes on where those bracket play will take place. We'll have that in your coach's packet if we don't email it to you ahead of time. Same thing with the individual tournament. All 32 qualifiers will bowl their 3 individual games. And then we will have rotation at both the 15 Baker games for the team site, and we will have rotation after each game at the individual site. So your original lane assignments, you may want to remind your fans that just because they're in front of their bowler or their team when they start, after they rotate, a couple sets of lanes, they may not be in front of their bowlers anymore as far as spectators go. Once again, on the winners will advance to the semifinals and finals. We will bowl for a championship, and we will also bowl for a 3rd place consolation. If you do not advance beyond the pre-bracket play, i.e., if you're an individual and you're not one of the top 8, then you would be done bowling for the day, and then we will do all awards at the end of the bracket play at each site, both of the days. In terms of the bracket play format and breaking of ties, we'll use a PBA format starting on the left lane. When we get to the bracket play, the highest seed chooses who goes first, and that person bowls 1 frame from the left lane, and then it is 2 frames each bowler, alternating lanes, with the bowler who started going last in the 10th frame. There is a whole tiebreaker procedure for both individual and team. Knock on wood, we did not necessarily need that last year, but we do have that established if we were to need that this year. In terms of practice at both Cadillac and Maple Lanes, you must reserve that ahead of time. You can't simply show up Saturday or Sunday night and expect to get on a lane if you have not reserved that ahead of time. There is information for reserving those lanes at both facilities in the packet that was sent. Mick Hackbarth at Cadillac and Ryan Wilson at Maple have been outstanding hosts over the years for us with both the team event and the individual event. They are both very, very strong supporters of youth bowling, not only the high school events, but other youth bowling events throughout the state. And just want to make sure we mention those facilities along with Rich Imey, who's involved with both facilities. And they've just done an outstanding job of being hosts for our state tournament the last handful of years. With regard to the practice rounds, at Cadillac, there is Mick would prefer a email, and that is in the packet that we sent, and there's a cost associated with that. And then Maple Lanes, there is a phone number that you can give the front desk a call to make the reservation for practice rounds. At the team site, those practice rounds may take place Sunday, February 19th, 6 p.m. and then Monday and Tuesday, either after 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. those nights. Their lane rental is by reservation only again, so make sure you make those reservations. You simply can't just show up and expect to get on without those reservations. For Maple Lanes, they'll have open lanes from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday, and then the lanes will be open from 9 to 11 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday evening with reservation. Once again, all that information is in the packet. As far as the meet day at both Cadillac and Maple, I'll let Madison talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what you guys can expect on the day of the meet. So we'll have a Cadillac for the team meeting. We will have a coaches and participants meeting in the south corner of the facility around 8:35 a.m. At this time, we'll be giving instructions for the parade, which is a really great and unique thing that we're able to do for bowling. So please make sure that everybody arrives early enough to be ready for that meeting and get situated before we start there. At the conclusion of the meeting, all participants need to report to the south corner of the facility to line up for the parade. Please make sure that everybody understands the timeliness and cooperation that goes into this so we can make this a successful thing for the kids and get ready to start bowling that day. At Maple Lanes, there will be a coaches and participants meeting again at 8:35 in the restaurant. Again, we'll give instructions at that time and get organized in Maple and then parade the kids out for the start of the meet there. The pass gate. So at Cadillac Lanes, participants will enter through a pass gate toward the south end of the building. This is a different door than previous years. We will have signage out there indicating where that is. Only the names on previously submitted rosters will be allowed free admittance into the tournament through this door. Substitutes must be dressed in school attire and will not be allowed to sit in the bowling area with the active bowlers, but they will be able to sit in the coaching staff area above their respective lanes. So please just make sure that any substitutes that we're bringing are aware of that and they know where to go for that, and so that we can get everything going and organized on the day. At Maple Lanes, participants and coaches will enter through the restaurant entrance on the west side of the building. And again, no team members will be allowed free admittance, and all teammates will need to purchase a ticket if they choose to attend. Equipment storage for each of the different bowling houses here. Team participants will have a designated non-secure area to place their equipment. The only equipment that'll be at the lanes for the equipment being used by the bowlers. Due to limited space, all bags must be placed in the areas assigned to the participants. The same is for Maple as well. The storage area will be in the restaurant area. Again, it is a non-secured area for those items. And again, all bags will be stored there and only equipment will be brought to the lanes for that.
Okay, I was just looking at some of the Q&A. Sorry about that. As far as state awards, once again, we will do that at the end of play. So if we're at the individual site and say the boys wrap up early and the girls are still bowling or vice versa, we would wait till both are done and then we will do the awards. At both facilities, the upper lanes will be boys side and the lower lanes will be girls. And then we will do those awards at the end of play. I'm not going to go through what all the awards are. Suffice it to say that obviously, if you are a 5th through 8th place individual, we're not bowling those off. So those medallions, their awards would just say quarterfinalist versus having a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place, whereas the top 4 would have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place medal. The oil patterns, I believe that they've been shared on the girls' site. We'll also have those in the coaches' packets, and I'll make sure to share those through the boys' site as well. It's typical house shot, so it should be nothing that if you've played at either facility before that you've not experienced. Competitors, teams are allowed a maximum of 7 bowlers, including the substitute. We've had some back and forth verbiage about substitute and alternate. When you filled out your entry form, you filled out for the 6 bowlers that will be potentially participating. That 7th bowler would only participate in the case of illness or injury. That 7th bowler would not be participating because they're part of a normal rotation. That's why you have 6 to bowl 5. And then two coaches through the pass gate at Cadillac, and individual qualifiers are allowed 1 coach at Maple. I saw some Q&A there. You get 1 coach. If you have a second coach, they would either have to be part of the allotment of 4 or purchase a ticket through the at-large public offering. Keep it in mind, there is a limited number. That is the reality of what we face with the capacity issues. We will have some discussions once we get past the tournament, but for now, as we look at next week, that's what we're dealing with. In terms of competitor standing, I never thought I would have so many questions from the state qualifying meets about this issue. Out of both courtesy for the patrons who purchase tickets, but also the issue of gamesmanship as well. We will be enforcing that competitors should be seated when they are not bowling. They should not be standing the entire time. There's simply no way for folks who have purchased tickets to be able to see what's going on. We've also told fans they cannot, back when bowling first started, we had people bring step ladders and stand on chairs. And I'm sure Jason can remember back to some of those days and some of that happening. And one of the ways that we were able to help curtail some of that is by having the competitors seated when they are not bowling. It's difficult for the spectators to see if all the bowlers are standing on those lanes. Keep in mind, your bowlers are going to be rotating during that pre-bracket play. So just because you're in front of them at the start doesn't mean that you're going to be in front of them when they finish. One of the other Q&As had to do with if you have two individual qualifiers, one boy, one girl, will they be put together closely on lanes? No, they probably won't, because even if they started fairly close together, say on the boys' side, they started towards the middle lanes, and on the girls' side, they started towards the beginning lanes. After they rotate, the boy will be down at the other end of the alley. So keep in mind that you will get a coach, though, for both the boy and the girl. You would be allowed two coaches. And so keep that in mind with regard to your planning for the event. And then I'll let Madison talk a little bit about shadow balls and some of the other particulars.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what Chad was just saying with the lane assignments for individuals, we are working hard on those lane assignments, and we are putting, if you have multiple qualifiers from one school, they will be either on the same lane or the lane next to each other as they rotate through there. So again, there's that as well with that and how we're organizing it. So we can mark that one off the question and answer there. All right, so moving into shadow balls. There are alterations for Baker games. We'll be allowed 2 shadow balls prior to the start of the team play. And then moving into resurfacing of the balls. So just like always, postseason competition is allowed only in accordance with the US-BC rules. Specifically, altering the surface is allowed in our events between elimination rounds and Baker and play fresh oil new round between bracket rounds when warm-ups are allowed in between extended breaks in play. So lane rotation is not considered an extended break in play or the end of a round. No surface adjustments are allowed during lane rotation. A quick update that is great for our event is the Lane Talk app. So you guys might have this already, but it is synced with both Cadillac XBC as well as Maple Lanes. So you can have this app on your phone and go ahead and create a free profile, and you can then follow along with the different meets that are going on remotely, and it'll update real time for you as well with scores and everything there. The restaurant and concession stand items, they will have a limited menu, for services there as well for your kids to keep up the refreshments and energy there. Chad, I'm going to skip over this picture plaque and let you come back and talk about that one. And then we'll talk about merchandise real quick. We will have our on-site t-shirt sales there with Fine Design. You can also purchase ahead of time with this link here. So go ahead and share that with your kids if they don't want to wait in line when they get there, but those will be available as well.
I want to circle back on a couple of items and maybe expand a little bit. Lane Talk will show what's happening it will not necessarily have the tally of what's going on in the boys and girls tournaments because it's not linked to our state tournament per se in terms of our scoring process and our bracket play. That will be on each of our individual websites, just as it was last year. And we will try to have those posted in as real time as possible. Obviously, we're collecting scores from the lanes and then we're inputting them into our computer system. And then we're pushing them up to the websites as soon as we can. I'm going to go ahead and answer this question, even though it wasn't asked, because I know it's going to come up with some of our space restrictions. We allowed it at the state qualifying meets. We will allow it at the state tournament. If you want to live stream your player without use of a tripod or standing up, that's not going to be an issue. We're going to allow that to happen. You don't have to apply for anything or anything of that nature. So if you want to Facebook Live or stream it back to a parent or grandparent or somebody else who's not able to attend, that would be perfectly fine as long as you are not obstructing the view of any of the other fans at the facility. The restaurant and concession items, I know that Ryan at Maple is planning kind of a pre-order option. So if you want to order food ahead of time, coaches, for your players, you can do that and then pick it up. And maybe this would be a great time to introduce Mick. We already have, but if he has a couple of words about maybe restaurant or concession at Cadillac. Mick?
Thank you, Chad. I know that we have done quite a few youth events in the past couple of weeks, including some college events. And coaches, especially for your team event, which is what I'm in charge of, so I'm not really going to speak about Maple. We have allowed the use of snacks, bringing in a little a tote for snacks. It's important for these athletes to maintain their energy. So if you're talking packages of cookies or fresh fruit, those are fine, but we ask that you just make sure that only the players, and even if your coaches need a little nosh now and again, that's fine, but that those snacks cannot be shared with the spectators. We do derive some income from concessions, and that is one of the ways that we're able to afford to run this event. So we just ask that you respect our desire to sell concessions. We will sell bottled water. If somebody brings in a Starbucks coffee, we'll probably look the other way because we don't have that available. But if you're bringing a 20-ounce Coke, I'm not going to let that in the door. So those are just things that we like to be very clear up front with, so that there's no hard feelings the day of the event. We want everybody to come and have a really good experience when they join us in Waterloo. We love doing these events for the youth, the culture that it creates in our center. We host 2 high schools and West High occasionally. So 2.5 high schools plus 2 college teams. So we are in it for the long haul, and we thank you guys so much for continuing to come back to Waterloo. We enjoy this. Is what we do for a living. This is what we do for our passion. Just like you coaches are giving it all for your kids. We really appreciate that. So
thank you, Mick. That's would echo everything Mick said. I would also add that having spent a lot of time at our state tournament events, no offense to Wells Fargo, but the concession items at Cadillac and Maple are very good and very reasonably priced compared to maybe some other state facilities. And then also with the picture plaques on the boys' side, we do take photos of the teams. That's the players and the coach. You may have we'll take those photos upon your arrival. We're going to do it actually out on the lanes. So we will do that on the boys are bowling the lower lanes and girls are bowling the upper lanes. So probably around lane 1, 2, 3, you'll see our photographer out there at Cadillac to do those team photos and he'll be available as of 7:30 right when you arrive, so you can get him out of the way. And then we'll be doing the individual photos, and ideally that's the individual with his coach. If you have 2 or 3 individuals that have qualified, it'd be all 3 bowlers with his coach, and we will be doing that in the restaurant area, kind of towards the duck pin bowling area. If you've been to Maple before, which I'm sure many of you have, we'll have a little photography area set up there to take those photos that will eventually be part of your awards program. And then Madison mentioned the merchandise. I'm going to skip on to spectator policy. You know, I don't anticipate any issues. We had very few issues last year at state tournament. We had a few issues at the state qualifying meets, and I just want to make sure we all understand that while the competition is going on, there should be, you know, other than cheering on your bowler, there should be, you know, little to no interaction between parents or spectators and the bowlers. The coaches are there to coach, the parents are there to cheer and to support. There are bowlers in every way that they can possibly do that, but it's not the role of the parents to be coaching during the competition. And then also banners are not allowed at the competition, i.e. Because of visibility and sight lines. And then obviously alcohol and tobacco are not allowed. And animals other than service animals would not be allowed at the facility as well. With that being said, I want to again thank Mick for his work at Cadillac, and Ryan and Rich, their work at Maple. It really does make for a good event. And then I'm going to kind of turn it back to Madison, and I'm not sure, Jason, if you've been monitoring how we are in the Q&A, if we have a bunch that we haven't addressed, or maybe kind of help you or have you help us make our way
Chad,
through.
I was just looking through them. We have just a handful, and I think that we could answer quite a few of them here. Jason, can I trouble you to read them, and then Chad and I will answer them? I just am worried if I say too much, my voice is going to give out here pretty soon.
I'm gonna do my best to keep that nice for you. Yeah, I think a lot of these, it looks like the general consensus and concern revolves around coaches and tickets. But I'll go through and I guess the first, I'll just go right down the list. Individual participants allowed a ball runner.
What have we traditionally done, Jason?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I guess for sure. I don't know if it's someone to get balls. I would think if that's what the question revolves around, or I'm not 100% sure.
Pull them from the paddock area or that non-secured area. If there are extras, you're only allowed so many in the bowler settee area. So if they need to make a change, are you going to allow the alternate or a coach to run back to that storage area for an alternate ball?
I think we've allowed that in the past.
Yeah, we would be consistent with past precedent, and if it's been allowed in the past, which it sounds like it has, we would allow that here as well.
As long as it's nobody extra on the roster. So who is on the roster that is getting admittance into being a part of that travel squad, then that would be fine, but no extra. We don't designate a ball runner or anything of that nature on the pass list or anything like that.
Not like a team manager or anything like that. It just has to be one of the participants, whether it's the alternate or the seventh player. A seventh player or the sub, I guess I should say.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
And I think if you could just go over the assistant coaches and the tickets, I think that's what a lot of these questions are about. If we can just kind of review that, I think that would take care of a lot of these.
For the team event at Cadillac, you know, 2 coaches per team. So if you have that's pretty straightforward. I believe that we've established that if you have a boys team and a girls team, that would be 2. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear about this. Authorized coaches, that means they have either their coaching authorization or their coaching endorsement. It doesn't mean that you have a volunteer coach who's you know, just a coach for that day, or who has not been coaching the team legally under association and girls union rules for the entire year. So if you had both a boys team and a girls team, Madison, I believe we decided that you would be allowed up to 2 per team, correct?
Yes, so if you have what we decided there with the language on that would be that if you have a boy and a girl competitor, then you have 2 coaches that are admitted into the individual tournament. If you have a single girl, then you get 1 coach. If you have a single boy, you have 1 coach. If you have more than 1 of each gender, you get up to 2 coaches. So if I qualified 2 or more individuals on the girl side, I would get 2 coaches. If I qualified 2 or more on the boys side, I'd get 2 coaches. If I qualified 2 or more on the boys and girls side, I could technically have 4 coaches But again, those all need to be certified. So I hope that that clears up some languaging there. So again, it's one coach per athlete for an individual. And then if you have boys and girls, you'd get 2. If you have more than one, then you'd get 2 per gender there.
Right, maximum of 2.
Yep.
Okay.
But if you have but once again, if you have a single athlete, if you're XBC, school, and you have one boy bowler, you get one coach. We can't, I mean, it doesn't even make sense to have more coaches than you would a participant.
And I think that contributed last year to some of the capacity issues we had at last year's individual tournament as well. Could maybe explain a little bit as far as once the team, as far as the individual tournament, once teams have they've gotten their 4 tickets, when do tickets go? Do they go back online for sale, or how did that?
Sure. They will be opened up to the public as of noon on Saturday. So there are more than 256 tickets total. There's about 327. Plus we have some schools that only have one participant. So they're only going to have one coach. And so we believe there will be in the neighborhood of about 80 to 100 tickets that will be available for public purchase outside of the 4 per bowler that will be available early with the passcodes. And so that's our ticket reality with the Maple facility. And once again, we were a little surprised last year when we saw that attendance ran higher at Maple than it did at the team event, even though we had fewer participants. And part of that was just because a lot of people came through the pass gate that were not accounted for, but then were, in the facility and had some concerns with the fire marshal. For those who've been longtime coaches, you may remember back to when we were bowling state tournaments in Des Moines and even faced the reality of being shut down because of potential fire code violations. And we can't have that with a state tournament.
Okay, we have one ask for clarification. I have 4 girls going individually, but I'm only bringing myself because our other coach will be with the boys who qualified, correct?
I'm trying to find that question.
Second until it's near the bottom. Or actually, it's in the middle. My bad.
Could you read it again, Jason?
Sure. It says it actually says you lost me on your wording. To clarify, I have 4 girls going individually, but I'm only bringing myself because our other coach will be with the boys who qualified. And then correct is the question.
Yes, I mean, if you're bringing 4 girls, you could have had 2 coaches technically, but if you only have 1, you only get yourself. There's not another ticket out there that becomes this quasi coach ticket. It's not even a ticket for a coach. You're coming through the pass gate, and so you're going to have a coaching lanyard on. Hopefully that helps.
All right.
There's been a couple of questions about reoiling regarding the team house specifically after the 15 bakers.
Sure. We will not be Mick and I talked about that today, and we've talked about it previously. We will be leaving a number of lanes open during the bakers, so that when we get to bracket play, we can use some of those lanes that will not have been bowled on, so they'll have fresh oil. We will go back when we get through the various levels of the bracket play. We will be re-bowling on some lanes that we bowled on earlier, but I don't believe the way that we have it laid out, I don't believe any of the lanes will see anything near, a breakdown level of say 30 games on it. We're looking at 18, 19, 20 games total max. And because of the facility being large enough to be able to rotate, we won't be using all the lanes during that pre-bracket play, which will give us some fresh oil to go to in the subsequent bracket play. And unlike last year we had the lower seed traveling to the higher seed. This year, it's all laid out just like we did with individuals. So you'll know ahead of time, you know, which set of lanes you're going to as you progress through the bracket play at both individual and at the team event. Hopefully that helps.
Here's one, can a seventh bowler, I think this is, I'm reading it right. Can a seventh bowler bowl in the event of a disqualification?
If it is a code of conduct, they cannot. The code of conduct that was passed this year does not allow for substitution or for the alternate to come in for that athlete who was disqualified. So I guess it depends on the nature of the disqualification.
And then here's the last one. Are there team tickets available for individual tournament if they are purchased, or do they have to get the ones available to the public on Saturday?
They would have to get the ones that are available to the public on Saturday. As we said, it'll be a fairly small pool. Once again, though, when it goes to general public on Saturday, you know, mom and dad and, you know, immediate family, for the most part, will have been taken care of with those 4 tickets. It's not like we had 700 people last year at Maple. We were just above the fire code last year. And so we wanted to make sure that we gave, you know, the individual athletes participating, you know, a chance to purchase, their families a chance to purchase 4 tickets. I expect that not all those will be used. And so that will add to the public pool of tickets, but it's not like we have 3 different sets of passcodes. There's 4 for each athlete, and then the unused will go to the general public as of noon on Saturday.
All right. Well, I think looks like we have gotten most of our questions answered. So I think, again, well, thank everybody for showing up. And once again, remind everybody that this will be, we'll download this in the morning, tomorrow morning, and then we'll get it posted. Usually takes a little while for it to load up onto our YouTube pages, but we'll go ahead and get those out as soon as we can tomorrow. So again, want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and best of luck to everybody next week at the state bowling tournament. Thank you.
Safe travels, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, and congratulations as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to everyone. We look forward to having you all in Waterloo next week.